My son Leo is 5. He's always had a wild imagination, creating entire worlds in his bedroom with just a few action figures and a cardboard box. But a few weeks ago, his imaginary friend, Charlie, started to worry me. It began innocently enough. Leo would set an extra plate at dinner for Charlie, or he'd tell me to be quiet during car rides because Charlie was sleeping. I thought it was sweet, a normal part of childhood development. Then, things took a turn. One morning, I was making breakfast, and Leo walked into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. "Mummy," he said, his voice small, "Charlie was watching you again last night." I chuckled, pouring pancake batter onto the griddle. "Oh, was he? And what was I doing?" Leo's face was serious. "You were sleeping. He likes to stand in the doorway and watch you. He says you look peaceful." A small chill ran down my spine, but I brushed it off. "Well, that's nice of him, I guess. Tell Charlie it's a little creepy, though." "Okay." Leo just nodded and started talking about his favorite cartoon. I didn't think much of it. Kids say strange things, but it kept happening. A few days later, I was getting ready for bed, and Leo came to my room for his goodnight kiss. He pointed to the corner, near my closet. "Charlie's already here tonight," he whispered. "He's waiting for you to fall asleep." I forced a smile, trying not to let my unease show. I checked the corner, of course. It was empty, just a pile of laundry I needed to put away. "Okay, sweetie. Well, you tell Charlie to go to your room. Mummy needs her sleep." I tucked him into his own bed, made sure his nightlight was on, and closed his door. But when I got back to my room, the air felt heavy. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I checked the locks on the doors and windows, something I hadn't done in years. I told myself I was being ridiculous, letting a 5-year-old's imagination get the better of me. The next incident was the one that truly terrified me. I had a terrible headache and decided to lie down for a bit in the afternoon. Leo was playing quietly in his room. I must have dozed off because I woke up with a start, feeling a draft. My bedroom door, which I had closed, was now slightly ajar. I sat up, my heart pounding. "Leo," I called out. No answer. I got up and walked into the living room. He was sitting on the floor, lining up his toy cars. "Hey buddy, did you just come into my room?" He looked up, his eyes wide. "No, Mummy, but Charlie did. He wanted to make sure you were okay. He said your head hurt." My blood ran cold. I had never told Leo my head hurt. I had just quietly gone to lie down. How could he possibly know that? "Leo," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "what does Charlie look like?" He tilted his head, thinking, "He's tall, and he wears an old hat, and his face is wrinkly like Grandpa's." My ex-husband's father had passed away 2 years ago. He always wore a worn-out fedora. I had photos of him, but they were tucked away in an album in the attic, a place Leo had never been. I felt a wave of nausea. This was no longer just a child's game. Something was wrong. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the house, every rustle of leaves outside my window sent a jolt of panic through me. I kept staring at the dark space in my doorway, expecting to see a tall figure in a hat. Around 3 in the morning, I heard it, a soft, shuffling sound from the hallway. It wasn't Leo's little footsteps. It was slower, heavier. I held my breath, frozen in bed. The shuffling stopped right outside my door. I could see a shadow pass under the thin sliver of light from the hallway. My heart felt like it was going to explode. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying for it to go away. The next morning, I looked exhausted. Leo came to the breakfast table and looked at me with concern. "Charlie said you didn't sleep well," he said matter-of-factly. "He was sad for you." That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to know what was going on. I had a security camera from when Leo was a baby, one of those old nanny cams. I dug it out of a box in the garage, dusted it off, and set it up on my bookshelf, aimed directly at my bedroom door. I told myself I was crazy, that I would watch the footage tomorrow and laugh at myself for being so paranoid. That evening, I went through our usual routine: dinner, bath time, story, and bed. I kissed Leo goodnight, telling him I loved him more than anything. When I went to my own room, I made sure the camera was on and recording. I climbed into bed, but sleep was impossible. I just lay there, staring into the darkness, listening. For hours, there was nothing but the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic. I must have drifted off eventually. I woke up feeling groggy, but strangely relieved. The sun was shining, and the house was quiet. I made coffee, my hands shaking slightly as I thought about the camera. I had to see it. I took the memory card out and plugged it into my laptop. I fast-forwarded through the first few hours of stillness. My heart hammered against my ribs. Then, I saw it. At 2:47 a.m., a shadow moved under the door. The doorknob began to turn, slowly, silently. My breath caught in my throat. The door creaked open, just a few inches, and from the darkness of the hallway, a figure emerged. It wasn't a tall man in a hat. It was Leo. He stood in the doorway for what felt like an eternity, perfectly still, his little face illuminated by the faint glow of his own nightlight down the hall. He just stood there, watching me. After about 10 minutes, he quietly backed out and pulled the door almost closed, leaving it just ajar. I watched the clip again and again, a cold dread washing over me. It was him. It had always been him. But why? Why would he lie? Why would he invent this, Charlie? I went to his room. He was still fast asleep, looking so small and innocent in his bed. As I stood there, watching him, my eyes fell on his bedside table. Next to his lamp was a small, framed picture. It was a photo of me, holding him as a newborn in the hospital. And tucked into the corner of the frame was another, much older, faded photograph. It was a picture of my ex-husband's father, his grandpa. He was smiling, wearing that old fedora. Leo must have found it somewhere. He had created Charlie from a ghost, a memory. He wasn't being malicious. He was just a little boy, maybe feeling a little lonely, who had invented a friend to watch over his mum. The shuffling sound, the adult-like details. He was just mimicking what he thought an old man would be like, a story he'd created in his head. My fear instantly melted away, replaced by an overwhelming wave of love and a little bit of sadness. My little boy was just trying to protect me, in his own unique, slightly creepy way. That morning, I sat down with him. "Leo," I said gently, "you don't have to have Charlie watch over me anymore. That's my job. I watch over you, and you watch over me, okay? We're a team." He looked at me, then gave me a small smile and nodded. From that day on, he never mentioned Charlie again. The feeling of being watched in my own home disappeared. But sometimes, when I check on him at night, I see that old photo on his nightstand, and I smile. It's a strange, spooky chapter of our lives, but it reminds me just how powerful a child's love and imagination can be. Thanks for listening to my story. If you have any similar experiences, I'd love to read about them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.